Hey guys, what's up? Red Warrior here with another video, and yep, I think you know where this is going ahead. So, I think it's time we talk about the controversy surrounding Helldivers 2 and what's been going on with it since I took a hiatus from the game for a little bit. And we're going to break down what the developers have said about the game, their feedback, how they responded to feedback and criticism. I know I said I was pretty much done with gaming controversies, but this is an important game. This is the game that rebooted the channel. This is the game that I promoted heavily around. So I'd be kind of a dummy to just throw it away and say this game meant nothing to me and we're just going to remove Helldivers in general. So we're going to talk about the latest update of Escalation of Freedom. What has the developers of Arrowhead Studios done since the update release? How did they respond to criticism and feedback? And what are they doing right now? So as you know, the Escalation of Freedom update went kind of horribly wrong for the game in a manner of ways that you could only, I don't even know what, it was a firestorm of bad news for this update. So when they released the Escalation of Freedom update, as everybody knows, they decided to nerf a good chunk of weapons and abilities. So mainly, the biggest thing that they nerfed was the Breaker Incendiary Shotgun, which reduced its magazine from 6 to 4. So the ammo economy around the Breaker Incendiary Shotgun is crap, to where you absolutely positively have to have a resupply pack on you at all times. And also they reworked the fire physics in the game to where it has been, what's the word I can say, pretty much done to death, to where fire is not even a practical weapon to use against enemies, especially armored enemies. Now, I'm not going to go into details about everything else. I'm just giving you the broad spectrum of the update. And they gave the enemies more buffs than nerfs. The bugs got a lot of new armored and variants of enemy types. And the bots got some new varied enemy types. They brought in the tank and they brought in the rocket strider. Okay, so they buffed the enemies and nerfed us, basically. So as you can see, in a PvE game, that does not bode well. What have they done to address the controversy and the negative feedback around the game in general? So here we are on the official Helldivers Discord page, and we're going to break down what the director said in response to the negative feedback and controversy of the Escalation of Freedom update. And we're also going to break down what they just recently posted, like I think a couple days ago. So here's what the game director Michael had to say about the update. Fellow Helldiver, I want to directly address the feedback you've raised about the Escalation of Freedom update. We spent the last week listening to feedback, reflecting about the path ahead for Helldivers 2 and how we want to continue developing the game. In short, we didn't hit our target with the latest update. No kidding, buddy. You didn't hit your target. You basically managed to insult everybody. Like, who nerfs fire damage right before they release a war bond completely centered around fire? Makes total sense, right? Anyway, some things we just didn't get right, yeah? And other more fundamental inconsistencies in our approach to game balance and game direction. All of that is on us, and we're going to own that. As many of you pointed out, and we agree, what matters most is action, not talk. So, okay, basically they just said a big apology for like the 30th time or whatever. There's been so many inconsistencies with this game. There's been so many apologies sent. We're basically kind of tired of the apologies at this point, guys. We just want results, okay? Moving on from that. To that end, here's what we intend to do in the upcoming updates. Our aim within the next 60 days. Continue to re-examine our approach to balance. Our intention is that balance should be fun, not balance for the sake of balance. But why didn't you do that? It just befuddles me. Your whole premise is a PvE game, so you should be focusing on fun first and foremost. Why weren't you focusing on fun first and foremost? Doesn't make sense. But anyway, Update how the fire damage mechanic works to tweak how the flamethrower serves as close range support weapon. A quick straight revert won't work, as it would break other things. So since the engine is outdated, they can't just simply revert the crap, is what they're saying. It would screw things up more than it already has. Rework gameplay to prevent excessive ragdolling. There has been people complaining about that. Rethink our design approach to primary weapons and create a plan for making combat more engaging. Yeah, why weren't... Again, this is all stuff that you should have been focusing on day one, bro. Like, obvious. Reprioritize bug fixes so that more immediate gameplay impacting bugs are prioritized. Improve game performance. Frame rate is a focus. Now frame rate is a focus. Bro, I complained about my frame rate in multiple videos. You know, I'm just glad they're actually now addressing all this stuff. Okay? But the fact is, you knew this was an issue and you didn't solve it. Like, you had plenty of time. But anyway, moving on. I'm getting ahead of myself. Additionally, from a bigger perspective, we will be exploring creation of opt-in beta test environment to improve our testing process, and we consider this a high priority. Again, you guys should be testing this already. Why aren't you testing this? Why are you having to now set up a beta test? Like a beta test environment or a test server or whatever. Why are you now doing this? Why are you now making this your high priority? Bro, this should have been your high priority day one of developing the game. Post regular player surveys to gather more insights and feedback from the community. I agree. Improve our process for patch/release notes, providing more context and releasing behind changes. More blog posts and streams where we expand on these topics for those interested. We also want to thank you for your patience. We're grateful that many of you provided constructive feedback and suggestions on the latest update. Michael, game director. Yeah, okay, there it is. So if we go down here, one of the most recent posts they made is the 60-day timeline progress update. It's already been a couple weeks, as you know. I've been busy doing the Black Ops videos and, you know, doing updates on the channel, basically. So what have they done within the couple of weeks that they've since said their 60-day timeline, you know? So let's break it down and see where they go. It's been a couple of weeks since we committed to our 60-day plan, and our team has been hard at work refining gameplay experience, addressing your concerns by doing it in-depth reviews and adjustment of various systems from weapon balancing and enemy behavior to overall game mechanics. We are fully committed to ensuring Helldivers 2 meets the high standards we all expect. We see the Steam reviews and hear you loud and clear. Now, just so you know, in the past month, I would say, the Steam reviews for Helldivers 2 went to mostly negative for most recent reviews. Let me say that again. Mostly negative for most recent reviews. If we go back to Steam now, as you can see, they are mixed for most recent reviews, meaning a lot of people have changed their opinions. Because at least the developers, I guess, are addressing a lot of the concerns. So, by the way, this was at mostly negative. So, now they're back to mixed, which is a good sign. We're excited to share more details about our upcoming update, which will include significant changes aimed at refining and improving the experience in Helldivers 2. This includes... Okay, so now we're going into breaking down what they're going to be redoing and reverting. We are reworking armor penetration, anti-tank weapons, and enemy armor and health values. As a key part of the rework, we have done an initial balancing pass on over 30 weapons and stratagems. Please tell me that this balancing for these 30 weapons and stratagems is fun balancing that you've claimed that you're doing. This is fun balancing, not balancing. This is not Call of Duty or Rainbow Six Siege. We are overhauling a number of different enemies to make them feel more rewarding to kill when you use the proper tools to handle them, but ensure they still feel formidable. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Enemy bots, including Hulks, will have lower armor and number of rockets fired by enemies, like Devastator and Gunship will be limited, making combat more balanced. Okay, so they're limiting the amount of fire rate and the amount of like crap that gets dished out at you by enemy types. Okay, so great, cool. The armor values of the particular tough bug enemies like the Charger, Impaler, and Bile Titan will also be reduced. Yeah, that is something that I have noticed, that they did a slight buff to the Bile Titan, particularly in an older update, where they slightly increased the health to the Bile Titan's head. So one clean headshot wasn't enough to kill a Bile Titan. So it took 2 shots from if you were a good shot. Weapons such as the autocannon, heavy machine gun, and anti-material rifle will be more effective, providing greater loadout versatility. We are also working towards additional improvements for the flamethrower weapons. Yeah, you mean the weapons that you nerfed that didn't need to be nerfed? We're taking this opportunity to consider new player fantasies and design goals for these weapons and stratagems based on the feedback we've received and the trends we're observing during gameplay. Our next update containing all these changes and more details is scheduled to go live on September 17th. We value your feedback and are always looking for ways to improve the community engagement. Stay tuned for more updates in the coming weeks as we work together to make Helldivers 2 the best it can be. We'll be back on the 17th of September with more details. Okay, so all this stuff that we just broke down on this paragraph is going to be released on September 17th. That's next Tuesday, including the fire nerf or the fire balancing. Quote unquote balancing. So going on, they mentioned that they're doing this beta test or test server, which they should have done day 1, but they didn't for some godforsaken reason. What about the beta testing you've mentioned previously? I'm guessing this goes into that. So let's break it down. We've conducted closed beta tests for the last 2 weekends. We're starting small to ensure everything runs smoothly before expanding. They have been a test bed for the program, and we intend to expand it in the future and invite a wider variety of testers to play test our upcoming updates. It will take some time to get the infrastructure in order, but the intent is that these tests will find issues and missteps before we release them to the player base at large, providing a better experience for all players. So this is good news overall. So I'm glad they're addressing this. I'm glad they're releasing the beta test. And I'm glad they're, fixing what didn't need to be fixed in the first place. But this is why you test your games, guys. This is why you ask your community for feedback prior. This is why you do beta testing or test servers for your community. Or go into extensive play testing with your developers. Like, don't you have play testers at the studio? I'm pretty sure that's kind of required. I don't know, it's just a theory of mine. But you could have avoided all of this. You could have avoided all of that, but I don't know what was going through your minds. I get it, you're a younger studio. I understand Arrowhead hasn't been in the gaming industry for a long time, but come on, guys. This is basic stuff. I'm not even a game developer. You should have already had all this stuff, dealt with, or at least a majority of it. I don't know how you create a game without playtesting or doing beta servers or playtest servers. I don't know how you make a game without those. Maybe I'm dumb. Do I not know something? But at the end of the day, this is a learning experience for Arrowhead. I'm glad they took constructive criticism. I'm glad the community has been able to fill in the holes to where they can. And I'm glad the developers are addressing it. Okay? I don't want this game to fail. Nobody wants this game to fail. But you're setting yourself up for failure with this, I'm going to nerf fire weapons. I am going to buff enemy armor. And on top of that, I am going to bring in new enemy types for the enemies, but I'm going to reduce magazine capacities for all of our weapons. Where does that make sense? Don't do this again. Don't avoid this. Avoid this. Avoid this. Avoid an apology. We shouldn't even hear any more apologies from this day forward. But I get it. I get it. You're a young studio. You're an ambitious studio. But being a ambitious and younger studio in the gaming industry also requires research, testing, commitment. So please, Arrowhead, keep this in mind. Let's avoid this again. All right, that's all I got today, folks. Thank you for tuning in. I don't want to give up on Helldivers. I just currently re-downloaded the game as I was making this video. So I'm going to be doing test recordings with a bunch of my community members and seeing how that goes. I am also going to be following this update very closely. It's releasing next week, and we'll see where it goes from there. Okay? Thanks, guys. You have a good one, all right? This is Red Warrior, signing out. Peace.